No one believed me when I told them that my reflection in the mirror was alive. "Grow up, dude, you're not 5 years old, you're 24. That was all they said to me while laughing, as a response to my story. Well, I had to admit, it indeed sounded like a typical fear a 5 years old would have. But I swear to God, it was true. I couldn't remember since when my reflection came to life, but I remembered that it wasn't like that when I was a child. It was recently, I was sure, and it wasn't a ghost. Well, your reflection was alive and looked like an act of a ghostly thing. But no, mine wasn't a ghost. It felt to me as if it was a creature, an entity who lived behind the mirror, or trapped in there. I couldn't tell why or how. What I could tell was my reflection was constantly trying to grab me, as if it was going to pull me inside the mirror while I jumped out. Nope, that wasn't gonna happen, ever. Ever since I realized that my reflection was alive and constantly trying to grab me inside the mirror, I always did my best to keep my distance from reflective surfaces, like when I brush my teeth every night, for example. I always stood a few meters from the mirror, so it wouldn't be able to grab me. The entity in the mirror was constantly showing a grumpy and angry face every time it was just the two of us in the room. No matter how I try to smile in front of the mirror, the entity behind it never smiles. Never. It always looked grumpy and angry. One day, I took off from my flat for sightseeing in the mall nearby when suddenly an earthquake occurred. It was a huge one. Everyone was hysterical. They were running around in panic looking for a shelter. I ran to cover myself under a table to avoid getting hit by anything that fell. But I was too late. I didn't realize something fell from above me and hit me in the head. I fell down and I groaned from the pain. As the pain slowly faded, I started looking around. The earthquake had stopped. The mall was slightly dark. The light was out. It was messy there. I gasped when I noticed something shiny not far from me. I turned my head and I saw a mirror, probably from the fitting room near me. Reflected, I crawled away as far as I could, even though my head and my legs were hurt. Right there and then, I saw my reflection in the mirror. For the first time in forever, I saw the entity behind the mirror smiling at me. A devilish smile. A sense of horror grasped me as I saw the entity waving at me from behind the mirror, as if it was saying goodbye, for good. She was the prettiest girl in the class, but of course she never heard that from me. I was obsessed with her. I'd steal glances at her every chance I got. During class, when I was supposed to be taking notes on the train we rode after school, but today I wanted to do more. I hopped off the train when she got off and followed her out of the station and onto the sidewalk. I made sure to keep my distance. I wanted to surprise her. It was pretty hard staying within a good distance of her, though. She kept taking furtive glances back, and I looked down at my phone or pretended to tie my shoe every time she would. When she unlocked the door and stepped inside her house, I crept to the front stairs. My heart pounded as I rang the doorbell. A chime sounded from inside and awoke the butterflies in my stomach. Just as I reached again for the doorbell, she opened the door ajar and, recognizing my face, gestured for me to hurry in, promptly closing the door behind me. There was a guy, she paused. There was a guy following. Yeah, it was me. The words came out of my mouth before I realized what I had said. I know that, I sighed in relief. But I'm talking about the man behind you. The doorbell chimed, and the butterflies in my stomach stood still this time. I rarely sleep alone. Not that I have a choice in the matter. The night always starts, and for that matter, always ends the same. Knock back a few sleeping pills, take off my socks, and let myself get drowsy. Couldn't tell you why I even take them still. The pills, that is. I'm a creature of habit, you could say. Then again, so is she. I guess you could also say we're inseparable. Not that I planned it that way. That's just how it is now. Every night I wait, and every night her face appears. No matter how badly I clog myself with prescription pills, I can feel her arrival. Sometimes she's just a face, sometimes just a jaggedly rearranged torso. I couldn't tell you what's worse, her wide-eyed, contorted look of hatred or that delirious look of malignant joy spattered across its twisted face. It paces too, or it glides like it's on a conveyor belt, back and forth. Her eyes never leave mine, eyes wild with rage. The nights when the body of the thing lays itself beside me, to find us face to face with her lips agape, as if she was mimicking my horrified reaction, is beyond description. My whole body becomes liquefied with fear, and I bolt upright to escape, but never make it past my bedroom door. My legs fail me, and I'm suddenly a heap by my dresser drawer. That's when she kneels, purses her fat purple lips, and utters the only words I've ever heard her say since that night. "You shouldn't have killed me." Tumblr by Magic M. For as long as I can remember, the house at the end of the street held some mystery. Uninhabited for years, the local kids and parents all knew about its previous occupants and what happened. A young couple moved into the place around 2004. The young wife was upstairs one day when the husband rang the doorbell for some assistance carrying some boxes inside the front door. His wife said, "Coming," but then proceeded to take a tumble down the staircase and broke her neck upon hitting the front door, which was at the base of the stairs, dying instantly. The noise alarmed the husband, who dropped the boxes, and the rest is history. The husband was heartbroken and never spent another night there, leaving some things behind inside the house. As with all juicy tales, there were follow-up stories, and this is where things got weird. Apparently one day, a UPS worker walked up the house, mistaking it for the house next door, rang the doorbell to deliver a package, and heard someone say, "Coming." Then a moment later, something hit the door hard. It was late in the afternoon, no lights were on, and dead silence. This alarmed the man, but after asking, "Is anyone there?" a few times, he realized he was at the wrong address and made the correction. He told the neighbor, the real recipient of the package, about what had happened, and was genuinely shocked when he learned that nobody actually lived there anymore. The neighbor said his pallor went from a natural hue to pure white terror. This just added to the legend. Around Halloween each year, we would have these contests to see who could ring the doorbell, stand there for 2 minutes without getting scared or running away. Nobody ever did it. Well, not until Casey moved into the neighborhood. His father was in the Navy and Casey was fearless. All the kids looked up to him. When Casey celebrated his first Halloween with us, he accepted the challenge. We watched from across the street. Hell, we were scared. Casey walked up the house, rang the doorbell. Nothing happened, but then he reached for the doorknob and walked in, surprising all of us. "Is he fucking crazy, dude?" I shouted. Casey was now inside the weirdo house. It was dark, but we could see him with his flashlight in the rooms on the second floor. The rest of us looked at each other and said, "Fuck it," and ran across the street to join Casey. We get to the house, and right as we open the door, Casey comes tumbling down the stairs and would have hit the door if we weren't standing there holding it open. We picked him up and said, "What the hell happened?" I rang the bell. Someone said, "Come in," so I did, he replied. "But you fell." Something pushed me. But nobody was up there at all, not a soul. After several giddy minutes spent making silly faces with my son, I sighed and held him close, and smiled. I looked at our reflections in the mirror, in awe of the perfect little cherub I was blessed with. "That's my boy," I said matter-of-factly, pointing to my son's reflection while beaming with pride. My reflection flickered momentarily before an unearthly hand stretched out from the glass, and plucked my son from my lap. "No, that's my boy," the guttural voice declared.